In the early hours of the harmattan morning, the dust rolled like whispers across the clay paths of Mbale. The village was still asleep, wrapped in its usual silence, broken only by the occasional cough of an old generator or the crowing of a confused rooster. But that peace would not last. A black SUV, its tires crunching over gravel and dry leaves, came into view like an omen. Children, barefoot and wide-eyed, ran alongside it, shouting and laughing as if the vehicle were a creature from another world. Women paused their sweeping. Men looked up from their benches. Everyone watched. When the door opened and Jomo Okoye stepped out, a slow ripple of recognition spread through the crowd. He stood taller now, skin lighter than memory, wrapped in fine fabric that shimmered faintly in the sun. His wrist bore a watch that could buy a year's worth of maize. Beside him, a woman climbed out carefully, one heel at a time, her sunglasses swallowing half her face. She didn't smile. They did not speak at first. Jomo only inhaled deeply, as if the village air were strange to him. Then he muttered something to the woman, who wrinkled her nose and pulled her phone from her handbag like a weapon. Someone finally ran to call Kato. He came from the side of the house, shoulders broad from years of carrying more than his share. He was barefoot, wearing a faded t-shirt and trousers stained with oil. His hands were still dirty from working on the old generator, the one Mama used to curse whenever it coughed and died during soap operas. The brothers locked eyes. The air between them thickened. Jomo smiled with teeth. Kato did not. "My brother," Jomo said, arms wide. "You've grown lean." Kato wiped his hands slowly on a rag. "And you've grown strange." They stood like that for a while. No hug. No handshake. Only the hum of the half-fixed generator between them. Inside the house, the city woman Ada looked around, her heels clacking against the cement floor, every room too small for her eyes. She passed by the wall where old photos still hung, Mama in her wrapper, Papa holding up a fish, the two boys in school uniforms, smiling with gap-toothed grins. Ada did not stop to look. That night, they all sat at the long table in the backyard. A plastic table with uneven legs, just like old times. Nena, Kato's wife, served the food, rice, goat meat, pepper soup, with a quiet grace. She said little, but her eyes moved between the brothers with the care of a woman who had seen too many storms. Jomo ate with appetite. Ada barely touched her food. She used her fork to shift grains of rice from one side of her plate to the other. Then came the question. "So," Jomo said casually, setting down his glass of palm wine, "where is the iron box?" Kato did not look up. "What box?" "You know the one I mean. Papa's box. The metal one." "He kept it under his bed." "It's gone," Kato replied. "Gone." Jomo leaned forward. "As in stolen." "As in gone," Kato said again. "Like Papa and Mama. Like your presents for the past 10 years. The silence after that was long. Even the crickets outside seemed to pause. Ada shifted in her seat. Jomo leaned back and crossed his arms. "That box had the land papers," he said quietly. "The ones from the lower farm. And his savings. Dollars. You knew." "I knew Papa died with bitterness," Kato said. "That's what I knew." Jomo's voice sharpened. "Don't play games, brother. You think I came all the way here to eat yam and argue? You came to take what's left. I came to claim what is mine." Kato stood slowly. "You abandoned this place. This family. You sent money but never your face. Now you return for a box." "I return for what belongs to both of us," Jomo said, rising too. Nena placed her hand gently on Kato's arm, but he did not sit. Jomo's fists were clenched at his sides. "Search the house if you want," Kato said at last. "Tear down every room. Ask the ancestors if they've seen your precious box." "I just might," Jomo said. "And if I find out you took it?" He didn't finish. He didn't need to. That night, Jomo did not sleep in the main house. He and Ada stayed in the old guest room, where the bed creaked and the fan spun slowly like a dying bird. Ada whispered that she wanted to leave, that this place was strange, that it smelled of earth and old pain. Jomo stared at the ceiling. He had not returned for memories. He had returned for what he believed was rightfully his. But land remembers. And so does blood. In the early morning, Jomo woke to the cry of a rooster and the muffled voices of women at the well. Ada was still asleep, one arm over her eyes to block the pale light squeezing through the cracked window. He rose quietly and stepped outside. The compound was quiet except for the chickens scratching near the mango tree and the distant sound of a radio playing an old high-life tune. The same radio, he realized, that used to sit in the corner of their father's room, beside his tobacco tin and prayer beads. Jomo walked slowly, his feet kicking up familiar dust. The place hadn't changed much. Same cracks on the wall, same squeaky gate at the back. The guava tree still leaned slightly to the right, as if listening to gossip. He found Kato in the yam barn checking the stockpile. The brothers didn't speak at first. Just the sound of wood against wood, sacks being adjusted, rats scattering. "You ever thought about selling?" Jomo asked. Kato glanced at him. "The yams, the land, the house, everything." Kato straightened. His face was unreadable. "Papa told me to keep it in the family. Said this land has buried 5 generations. Selling it would be like selling their bones." Jomo snorted. "And what have their bones done for us, Kato? We're here rotting with them. This land is nothing but a graveyard with crops." Kato stared at his brother. "You know what I think," Kato said. "I think you lost your soul in Ukuru. You came back with shiny shoes and empty hands." Jomo's jaw tightened. "I came back with opportunity. I have a buyer lined up already. Someone who wants to build on this land. Apartments. We can both live better lives." "This is our life," Kato said quietly. "Right here." "Then you can keep living it," Jomo snapped. "But I'll take my share." Kato stepped forward. "You won't touch this land without blood." There was a long silence. Then Jomo turned and walked away. Later that day, a group of elders came by. Word had already spread, as it always did. Village mouths were faster than cars. The elders sat in the shade of the udala tree, sipping water and nodding solemnly. One of them, Pa Agbo, the oldest living man in Bale, cleared his throat. "We heard there is quarrel between the Okoye brothers," he said. "There's no quarrel," Kato replied. "Only greed." Jomo laughed. "Greed? For asking what belongs to me. Papa's land wasn't just yours." Pa Agbo raised his hand. "Did Papa leave a will?" "No," Kato said. "Did he say the land was to be split?" "He said many things. None of them in writing." The old man nodded slowly. "Then we must go to the shrine." Jomo shifted uncomfortably. "Shrine?" "Yes. If man cannot decide, spirit will. The land knows who should walk it." Ada, who had been listening quietly, stood. "You can't be serious. A shrine? In this heat?" The elders ignored her. Kato looked at Jomo. "Will you go?" Jomo hesitated. Then with a smirk he said, "Fine. Let the spirits talk." The shrine stood at the edge of the forest, where the soil turned redder and the air grew heavy. A small mud hut with a thatched roof, guarded by a priest whose eyes seemed to look through time. Inside, they lit a candle and placed a calabash filled with kola nuts, bitter leaves and ash. The priest asked one question. "Who speaks with clean hands?" Jomo and Kato each placed their right hand on the calabash. Nothing happened. Then the priest said something in a language older than roads. He threw a bone into the air. It landed on its side, spinning until it stopped. The priest's eyes narrowed. "One of you lies." Kato stepped back. "I have nothing to hide." The priest turned to Jomo. "You," he said. "You came before your brother called you. The box you seek. You already touched it." Jomo froze. "What is he talking about?" Kato said sharply. But Jomo said nothing. The priest continued. "The box is no longer in this land. And neither is the truth. That night Kato did not eat. He sat outside under the stars, watching the sky as if expecting it to speak. Nena brought him water, but he waved her away gently. Inside the guest room, Ada was furious. "You told me there would be no drama," she said. Jomo was silent, staring at the cracked ceiling again. "Did you take the box?" she asked. "I took what I needed," he said. "Before Mama died. I came back to claim the rest." Ada turned away from him. "This place is cursed." Jomo didn't answer. He was thinking about something the priest had said. The box is no longer in this land. He didn't know what it meant then. But he would. And so would Kato. Because betrayal, like fire, never sleeps. 3 days passed, each heavier than the one before. The village no longer greeted Jomo with the same wide eyes. People still nodded when he passed, but their voices were quieter now, their looks sharper like blades wrapped in cloth. On the 4th morning, news broke that the small parcel of land behind the Okoye compound, the part near the stream, had been cleared. Someone had brought in a bulldozer at dawn. The sound had shaken birds from trees and woken half the village. By the time Kato reached the site, the red earth was already torn open like a fresh wound. Jomo stood nearby, hands on his hips, speaking to a man in dark glasses. "What is this?" Kato demanded. The man turned, chewing gum, and said nothing. Jomo stepped forward. "I sold this portion. It's outside the ancestral boundary. It was never blessed. Never buried. Not part of the family land." Kato was shaking now. "You sold it. To who?" "You didn't even tell me." Jomo shrugged. "It's already done. You wouldn't listen, so I moved ahead." Kato clenched his fists. That land was Mama's garden. She used to plant cassava there with her bare hands. "It's just land," Jomo said. "Cassava won't feed your children's future. But money will. Money from betrayal." Kato spat. "You've become something worse than a thief." They might have fought then, but the man with dark glasses stepped between them. "Hey, easy. We don't need village drama here. We're here for business." Kato looked him in the eye. "You'll leave this place today." The man smirked. "I paid your brother. Talk to him." Jomo did not flinch. "You can threaten all you want, but I'm not scared of old customs and dead parents. The world is changing, Kato. I'm just the only one willing to move with it." Kato's voice dropped. "You think the land doesn't hear you? That Mama's spirit doesn't walk here. You will regret this." That night the bulldozer broke down. No one saw who did it. Some said it was the boys from the other village. Others whispered it was a warning. But what mattered was that it stopped. And Ada had had enough. She packed her things, ignoring Jomo's protests. "You're not who I thought you were," she said. "You don't listen. You don't think. You act like a man being chased by his own shadow." Jomo followed her to the car. "Ada, please. We had a plan." "No," she said, opening the door. "You had secrets." And then she was gone. Jomo returned to the compound, empty and angry. He drank palm wine until his breath slowed and his words thickened. He cursed the village, the land, his brother, the shrine, the spirits, even the priest who had told him what he didn't want to hear. He stumbled to the back of the house, looking for something to destroy. But instead he found the small mound. 'Twas new. A fresh patch of earth, still soft, beside the old mango tree. A wooden cross, crudely nailed, sat in the center. Jomo blinked. He hadn't seen it before. He knelt, touched the soil. It was cold. Then he saw her name. Uma. Kato had buried her here. Not in the family graveyard, but under her favorite tree. The realization struck him like a whip. He had not asked. He had not cared. He had come only for property, not to grieve, not to remember. Suddenly the wind picked up. The mango leaves rustled. The air turned thick like water. Jomo stood quickly and backed away. Behind him he heard footsteps. He turned, but no one was there. And then a voice. Not a whisper, not a scream, just a voice that came from nowhere and everywhere. The land knows. The blood remembers. Jomo ran back inside, locked the door, sat in the dark, sweating, chest pounding. He didn't sleep that night. Neither did Kato. He sat by the fire, sharpening his old cutlass slowly, not for use, not for show, just to feel something real in his hands. Because sometimes pain is the only honest thing a man can hold. And somewhere far away, the iron box waited. Hidden not just in earth but in time. A box full of more than money. Box full of truth. A truth too heavy for one man to carry. The final part of Chapter 1 will bring the tension to a boil and set the stage for the deeper betrayal to come in Chapter 2. It will close out the emotional arc of the homecoming while planting the seeds of secrets that still lie buried, literally and figuratively. The next morning came dull and quiet. Even the birds seemed hesitant to sing. Kato was already outside, washing his hands at the basin when Jomo stepped out. His eyes red from a night without rest. They didn't speak. They didn't even look at each other. The silence between them had grown into something too thick to cut. Nena brought out a plate of boiled plantain and smoked fish. She placed it on the stool between them, then walked away. No words. Just the offering of food like peace in a war zone. They ate in silence. Halfway through the meal, Jomo spoke. "You think I'm a monster?" Kato didn't answer. "I took the box," Jomo said. "When Mama was sick. She gave it to me. Said she didn't trust anyone else. Not even you." Kato froze, fishbone between his fingers. "She gave it to me because I promised her I'd fix things. Pay off Papa's debts. Help the village. Bring electricity to the lower compound." "You didn't do any of that," Kato said without looking up. "I tried. I did. But things fell apart in the city. The money went to your pocket," Kato interrupted. "And you left us to bury them with nothing." Jomo stood, pacing now, agitated. "You think it's easy? That I haven't carried this? That every night I don't hear her voice in my sleep? That I don't feel Papa's disappointment weighing on my back?" Kato rose too. "Then why did you come back?" Jomo turned slowly. "Because the money's gone. And I have nothing left but this land. I thought, if we sold it, maybe we could both start over." Kato stepped closer, voice calm but cutting. "You already started over. You left us in the past." There was a long pause. "I buried Mama with nothing," Kato said. "Not because I couldn't afford a better coffin, but because she said, asterisk, let me return to the earth plane, no gold, no lie. Asterisk, she knew you wouldn't come." Jomo's face tightened. "I loved her too." Kato shook his head. "You loved what she could give you." And then he walked away. That evening rain came. Sudden and hard like punishment. It pounded the zinc roof and turned the yard into red mud. The new construction site flooded. The bulldozer was swallowed up to its wheels. Jomo stood by the window watching. Kato sat on the porch, legs stretched, rain soaking his clothes. Nena called him inside, but he stayed. And later that night, after everyone slept, Jomo went to the back room, the room where Papa used to sleep. He pulled out the old trunk under the bed, the one that had always creaked. Inside were letters, photos. One of the boys, younger, smiling. One of Mama carrying firewood. Another of the family goat that had died of old age years ago. At the very bottom, under a folded sweater that still smelled faintly of camphor and dust, was a sealed envelope. His name was written on it. In Mama's handwriting. He opened it slowly. Inside was a single sheet of paper. It read, asterisk, if you're reading this, then you came back too late. The land will not forgive what the heart cannot heal. The box you took was only part of the story. The truth lies with your brother. Ask him what Papa did in '83. Ask him who really owned the land behind the stream. Asterisk. Jomo sat back, heart pounding. Because suddenly, the betrayal no longer felt one-sided. Jomo sat in the dark, the rain still falling, the letter trembling in his hand, realizing that perhaps he was not the only one hiding something. Subscribe, like, comment and hit the notification bell for part 2 of this story.